Hey guys, so today I have swatches of the Twinkling collection from Zoya for holiday 2019. There are 12 polishes here altogether. These are available right now, so I will link the Zoya website down below, and I will get into the swatches. The first polish is called Steph, and this is described as a muted winter pink cream with a warm undertone. So I do have the wide brushes added to these, so this isn't the brush that will come with the polish. It is a little bit streaky on that first coat, but covers pretty well. And those streaks do level themselves out pretty well also. Good formula on this one. There was a little period of time last year, sometime, maybe beginning of this year even, where Zoya creams were kind of thick. The formula was pretty thick. These are not. These have been thinned out a little bit. I don't know if that was because of a complaint or not, but it definitely feels like it's been corrected. They're much easier to work with, and they smooth out a lot better. So this one does cover for me in 2 coats. I can see where, depending on your application, you might need 3 for some streaks, but I don't think it's super likely. And this one does dry pretty shiny. So that is 2 coats of Steph. So the next polish is called Kade, or maybe like a really fancy Kaede, but I don't think so. This is described as a gold metallic fleck with holographic foil. So I'm going to show this as a topper over Steph, but I do have a photo of it in 3 coats on its own as well. It has a really fine gold glass fleck running throughout it. If you're familiar with Zoya's I can never remember if it's Maria Lucia or Maria Luisa. I want to say I'm going to Google it. It's Maria Luisa, which was a pretty sheer gold glass fleck. You could get it opaque on its own, but it took quite a few coats. This is that glass fleck with some holographic silver shredded glitter mixed in. Okay, so I didn't have a very positive experience with this polish when I was doing my swatch photos. It seems to be working a little bit better today. And I think the issue was that when I did my photos, my base color was not dry enough. So make sure that if you're using this as a topper, your base color is really, really dry, because what was happening then is the polish I would put the blob on my nail and then it would not move from that spot. Like, I could not get it to spread out. It was like sticky and weird. So this really grips on to your base color if your base color is not completely dry. Today, my base color is completely dry and it's going way better than it was when I did my swatch photos. These holographic flakies that are in here are pretty chunky, so you're definitely going to want top coat to smooth those out, and they're probably going to be a little bit difficult to remove. It can make the polish a little bit harder to work with if you're not used to working with bigger, chunkier glitters like that. And if you do wear it on its own in 2 or 3 coats, it can get a little bulky. So just be aware of that. I prefer it as a topper, but it does cover completely in 3 coats too, which you'll see in the photo. So I'm actually relieved. I really thought I hated this the first time that I used it, but it went much smoother today. So that is 1 coat of Kade. The next polish is called Enza, and this is described as a medium macadamia cream. So this one is pretty good on the first coat. It's a little bit streaky, but it also is a little bit sheer. With Steph, it was kind of just streaky, and those streaks leveled themselves out pretty well. They're leveling themselves out decently with this one, but not quite as well as Steph did. And this one has a little bit more sheerness to it as well. Good formula though. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. It's another one where I can see where you would need 3, just depending on your application. It did dry a little bit more sheer than it applied, and it also dried a little bit darker than it applied. So that is 2 coats of Enza. So the next polish, I believe, is I don't really know what else it could be, but I learned pretty much every word I know from reading, so I don't know how to pronounce anything. This is described as a sophisticated rosewood cream. So this is a really nice opaque cream. It actually looks pretty good in 1 coat. I'm going to let it dry completely. I think I'm going to have a little bit of nail line peeking out after it's dry, but it's very smooth and very even. And I guess I kind of got there with smooth, but good formula on this one as well. This one actually didn't get that much more sheer on the second coat, or when the first coat dried rather, but I'm going to do the second coat just because. I'm kind of turning into one of those people that always does a second, even if the first is opaque, just because I think a thicker layer of polish looks better, even though you're going to put top coat over it anyway. And this does seem to dry a little bit darker than it applies. So that is 2 coats of The next polish is called Jett, and this is described as a frosted silver with a flaky texture that dries down matte. So this is a frosty matte silver base, and it has these little silver or gray flakies in it, like shredded glitter. I'm not exactly sure what color they are because the base does kind of alter them a bit, but I think they're like silvery or gray. They don't really stand out much in the polish. You kind of get the shape of them after the polish is dry, adding that texture, but they don't really stick out too much. It does dry matte, but it doesn't dry so fast that it's hard to work with. Okay, so this one does cover completely in 2 coats. It was a little bit sheer still on the first. You can see, I don't know if you can tell, but you do get a bit of texture from those flakies. I know that the Zoya description said that it's supposed to be textured. I don't love the texture. It's not as bad as those OPIs that had that frosty base with the glitter in it, but I get kind of a similar vibe from this. I think I would have preferred it without those flakes in it. And I do have photos of this with and without top coat. I don't know why my camera can't focus on this nail and this nail at the same time. So that is 2 coats of Jett. So the next polish is called Tieran, and Zoya describes this as a medium toned charcoal cream. So this is another gloriously opaque cream. This actually looks really good in 1 coat. I know I just said something about becoming a 2 coats no matter what person, but when I'm filming and it's 1 coat and it's going to save me some time, not so much. So I'm going to let this dry completely in case it gets a little bit more sheer, but it's looking pretty good in 1 coat. And good formula on this one as well. So I am going to add a 2nd coat to this. Close inspection revealed just a couple of sheer spots on a couple of nails. This is another one that you can see, hopefully you can see, it dries a little bit darker than it applies. So that is 2 coats of Tearin. The next polish is called Rosa, and this is described as a bright and cheerful fuchsia with pearl effect. So this is a very bright shimmery pink. There are some brush strokes through that shimmer when it's wet. This is one of those polishes, it doesn't have, just something about that shimmer makes it look like it's glowing. And I really can't put my finger on it. I wanted to say it almost has like a bluey purple flash to it, but looking at it I can't really pick that out, so I think I'm just making that up. But something about it makes it look very, very glowy. So this covered pretty well on that first coat, but after it dried I did have a little bit of nail line peeking through. So this 2nd coat doesn't really change the color too much, but it does cover that up. And I don't know if I mentioned, but good formula on this one as well. So that is 2 coats of Rosa. The next polish is called Sedona, and Zoya describes this as a warm, spiced mahogany with pearl effect. That's probably better than what I would call it, which would be the purpley red-brown shimmer. So this is a little bit sheer on that first coat, just in spots. The shimmer is really smooth, even wet, there's no brush strokes through it, and good formula on this as well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats, and does deepen the color quite a bit as well. Quite a bit might have been an exaggeration, but it does deepen the color. So that is 2 coats of Sedona. The next polish is called Gabbi, and this is described as a midnight purple aubergine cream. So this one covers pretty well on that first coat. It is a little bit sheer still. It just has light spots. It's not like you can't see the nail line or anything. And good formula on this one as well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats, just covers up those sheer spots that I had. I think this one also dries a little bit darker than it applies, but it's not very obvious. So that is 2 coats of Gabbi. So the next polish is called Tanya, and this is described as a festive candy red cream, and it is just like a standard, maybe a notch darker than medium, holiday season red. So I feel like reds like this are always really even, but then almost a little jellyish, so you can see some nail line there. So it will definitely need 2 coats, but it is like really shockingly even, and good formula on this one as well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. I think if you have a very white nail line, you might be able to see through the 2nd coat here a little bit. If I look really, really, really closely at my nails, I can almost pick out a faint nail line after 2 coats, but definitely not enough to worry about doing a third. And that second coat does deepen that red color just a little bit. And pretend I didn't just stick my finger in the polish on my pointer finger. That is 2 coats of Tanya. So the next polish is Alessia, and this is a kind of foily metallic blue. Zoya describes it as an icy blue metallic with hints of silver. So this is a little bit sheer on that first coat, but really, really sparkly. This was the standout for me because it looks so much better on the nail than I thought it would just from looking at the bottle. I don't know what to call it, the little sparkle particles, does that work, are pretty big in this, so it has a lot of sparkle because they don't really blend into each other. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. There were just a few bald spots. You could see through the polish a little bit. That second coat doesn't change the color too much. This is not a glitter, so it's not going to be textured and it's not going to need to be scrubbed off the nail. But that silver sparkle that's in there is probably going to stick to the skin quite a bit. So that is 2 coats of Alessia. And the last polish is called Jen, and Zoya describes this as a royal sapphire blue with a hint of purple. So this one is a little bit sheer, almost jellyish on that first coat, but the blue. I just really love how this can be so dark but glowy at the same time, and good formula on this one as well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats, and that second coat does deepen that color. And that blue shimmer has a nice glowy property to it. And this one does seem like it dries just a little bit dull, so you will want top coat. So that is 2 coats of Jen. Alessia was actually very surprisingly pretty. That sounds really bad. But I didn't think it was going to be anything too special by looking at it in the bottle, and then once I got it on my nails, I really, really liked it. So that one is my favorite. So that is the Zoya Twinkling collection for holiday 2019. Again, those are available right now, so I will link the Zoya website down below. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.